Hello class, in this video I am going to go over the instructions for the portfolio assignment. If you scroll all the way down to the last module, this is the portfolio module and it contains the instructions for the portfolio assignment. It also includes some reading that will help you assemble a portfolio, and it also includes a PowerPoint discussing PSA posters and of course where to submit the assignment link. So if we click on DACC Portfolio Assignment Sheet, this will take us to the actual instructions. The instructions explain the purpose of the portfolio. The purpose of the portfolio is really to show your best work. It's to show your best writing and also to show that you are ready to move on to the next class. But it is also an opportunity for you to reflect on the semester and really discuss how you've improved as a writer, as a reader, and as a student. So if we go ahead and look at the instructions tell you that the portfolio consists of 3 components. So you actually don't have to submit every assignment we've done in the semester. You only have to submit these 3 things. The first is a revised essay. So for those of you who passed the Common Exit essay, you get to pick any of the essays we've done this semester and revise it for the portfolio. Those essays include the classical argument, the proposal essay, visual analysis, or the Common Exit essay. Now, obviously this is an online class, so you don't have to provide the previously graded essay. You just have to provide the revised essay as part of your portfolio. However, I do want you to highlight the changes you've made just so that I know what changes were made to the revised essay. If you did not pass the Common Exit essay, then you do not have a choice and you have to revise the Common Exit essay. The Common Exit essay will be submitted along with your portfolio, and this will count as your second attempt. So it's very important that you pass it the second time because you need to pass the Common Exit essay to pass the class. The other component of the portfolio is a PSA poster. You are going to create a PSA poster on any topic that you like, and if you scroll all the way to the end, you will find the instructions for the PSA poster. Basically, PSA posters are public service announcements. That's what PSA stands for. And you want to pick an announcement, you want to pick a topic that is informative or argumentative. So a lot of PSA announcements are informative. For example, they inform people how to wash their hands, or they inform people about the effects of smoking. But for this one, I suggest that you pick one that is making an argument. So you want to convince people to either stop smoking, you want to convince people to start recycling. You can pick any topic as long as it is argumentative. Also, you want to pick a topic that you can narrow down. Some topics might be a little bit too broad, so you might want to go ahead and narrow it down a little bit. And remember that because it is argumentative, you want to go ahead and make sure that you follow the guidelines that I have set forth here. So it should appeal to ethos, pathos, and logos. It should contain a powerful, persuasive message. It should also contain a headline or a slogan stating the message of the PSA. It should also include a dominant image or a group of images. It should also include statistics, facts, or other vital information. And it should include thoughtful use of color, space, font, image placement. So basically what you're doing is you're creating a poster. And what I will do later on in the week, I will post examples from my students who have done this before. That way you can kind of see what I am looking for. But basically what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to create a poster that contains all of this criteria, and that's basically where you state your message. So you're creating a visual argument instead of writing an argument. Also, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and write a short paragraph explaining your PSA poster. So this is very similar to what we did with the writing exercise where you had to create an advertisement, except that this time you're creating a PSA poster. So you're not necessarily trying to sell anything, you're just trying to mostly trying to motivate people to change a behavior or to make a positive change. And I do mention that you can draw, paint, photograph, or use a computer to create your poster. Because this is an online class, most of you are probably going to design a poster using a computer. That's perfectly fine, but just keep in mind that you can also draw something or paint it or photograph something, and you can just go ahead and scan it or take a picture of it and upload it to Canvas. So that's also an option for you. Some of the examples that I am going to show you, I scanned them and they look just fine, so keep that in mind that you do have options. And the last component of the portfolio is the self-evaluation letter. All of these are worth 50 points. I do not accept incomplete portfolios, so you want to make sure that when you submit your portfolio, you submit all 3 files. So the evaluation letter is basically a letter where you discuss how you've improved as a writer, how you've changed throughout the semester in terms of your writing and your reading, and I list some questions that you might want to consider when you write this letter. You do not have to answer all of these questions, but these questions are just there to help you think about it. And also, your self-evaluation letter should discuss your revisions of the essay. So this is a perfect opportunity to discuss what revisions you made to the essay that you revised for the portfolio. This should be formatted as a letter, and it should be addressed to me. So you could either address it as Dear Natalie Herrera or Dear Portfolio Reader. Any one of those salutations would work, but make sure that you do it formatted as a letter. And because it is a letter, the page length should be short, 1 to 1.5 pages. So you want to make sure that you are concise and straight to the point whenever you discuss how you've improved as a writer and whenever you reflect on the semester, because this is a letter, so letters should be short. And if we go back to modules, here you will find a PDF file with some further reading that'll help you assemble a portfolio. Here is the reading, and I suggest that you read it because it does have a lot of great information. It discusses the purpose of portfolios, and it also discusses reflective writing, which is very important because your letter is going to be mostly reflective writing. Now, I don't know how many of you are familiar with reflective writing, but the difference between just remembering and reflecting is that when you are reflecting, you are analyzing and thinking about how things turned out, and you're also analyzing how things were to the way that they are now. So there's some thought involved in there as opposed to just listing or remembering things that happen. So that explains reflective writing, and also it discusses its importance. And perhaps the reason why this is so important is because we are writing a comprehensive reflection letter, which is a self-evaluation letter, and it tells you what types of knowledge should be included in the letter. So when you write your letter, you want to include self-knowledge, which basically means that you should be able to talk about yourself, how you are as a writer, how you are as a student. And I went ahead and I underlined or I highlighted several questions that I feel are beneficial to address in the letter. You also want to show content knowledge in the letter, which basically means that you want to discuss assignments, readings, essays that we've done this semester, things we've learned. For example, we learned about APA, we've learned about fallacies. All of those things are things you want to discuss here. The assignments or the lessons that had the most impact on you, you want to discuss those in your letter to show that you have content knowledge. You also want to discuss rhetorical knowledge in your letter, and this basically means to discuss what you learned are the choices that a writer should make. For example, we discussed audience and purpose and genre. We also discussed ethos, logos, and pathos. So all of these are choices that you should make as a writer. So in your letter, discuss which ones helped you out the most, which ones do you think that you will use later on in your career or in your college major. And of course, also include critical knowledge. Basically, what this means is that you should be able to identify your strengths and weaknesses. So again, I highlighted some questions that I think would be very beneficial to include in your portfolio. Like I said before, you do not have to you do not have to answer every single question, but these are there to help you think about what information to put in your portfolio. And I think that these last two questions are great to include in the conclusion of your letter. In the conclusion of your letter, you definitely want to look at the future and how you're going to use this, what you learned in this class later on in your career or in your college major. So I definitely suggest that you read this, and if you keep scrolling down, there's also an example of a letter. So if you look at this letter, this is the type of letter that you're going to be writing. So I think this is a really helpful example because it shows you how he's very detailed, but the letter is also short and straight to the point. So going back to the modules, we also have a PSA poster PowerPoint, and I definitely encourage you to look at this because it is very helpful in terms of what a PSA poster is, and it also gives some tips on design. So if we look at the PowerPoint, it of course starts off by telling you what a PSA is, which stands for Public Service Announcement, and then it also covers some guidelines regarding finding a topic. Since you are going to be doing a little bit of research on this topic, I suggest that you select a topic that you are interested in, but also make sure that it is suitable for a PSA. So I have some examples here. Sorry, I'll go back to that. I have some examples of topics that might work, and as you can see, there are a lot of these examples, right? And for example, bullying is one of those topics that you might want to narrow down. So you might want to focus on cyberbullying or bullying in elementary. But that's one of those topics that you should definitely make a distinction. Internet dangers, there's a lot of them. There's identity theft, there's cyber stalking, there's also cyberbullying. So this is one of those that you do not want to address all of them, but you want to pick one. So like let's say you want to pick identity theft and you want to convince people to take precautions, then just focus on identity theft as opposed to focusing on all the dangers that exist in the internet. So I also have another slide with more topic ideas because there's a lot. And again, some of these you really do have to narrow down. And I also discuss how to get started. Obviously, do research, determine who your audience is. This PSA poster can be directed towards kids, it can be directed towards teenagers, women, men, a general audience. So make sure that you make that clear. Like for example, if it's directed towards kids, then maybe it should be more colorful. If the topic is a little bit more serious and you are directing the topic to adults, then maybe the color should be a little bit more serious. Maybe utilize a black and white color scheme or something like that, right? And also make sure that you have one clear message. Sometimes we tend to get lost and we want to cover a lot, but remember that this is just one poster, so the image should be powerful, the message should be clear and direct. So you don't want people to look at it and not know what the message is. The message should be clear just by people looking at it. And then I discuss a little bit of the visual argument, right? And basically what you're doing is you're creating an argument visually instead of writing one. And I do discuss how the PSA should have one dominant image. So you do not want to have a lot of images going on, but one dominant image is best. And then I discuss designing the poster. I discuss text, the image when you're designing the poster, and then I give general tips. And then I provide some examples of PSAs. This one is familiar because we've looked at it before, but I will also go ahead and post examples for my students. My students have created some PSA posters for their portfolios, so I will go ahead and show you those. But as you can see, some of these are simple like this one, but they're very, very effective and powerful. So that's mostly what you are looking for. Simple yet effective. And as you can see, this one is directed towards kids. So please let me know if you have any questions related to the portfolio. And like I said, I will be posting some more examples later on in the week.